What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WrestleRant, where every single Tuesday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the pay-per-views that I watch in the WWE Network, as well as on the Global Wrestling Network, TNA's version of the WWE Network. Today we're talking ahead of Fastlane this coming Sunday, Fastlane 2017. And if any of you have followed me for any length of time know that I hated this show. I think it even cracked my list of top 7 or 8 or 9 least favorite pay-per-views in the time that I've been a fan for. And I've been a fan now for about 10 years, almost exactly 10 years, coming up in April. And I've seen a lot of bad shows in that last decade. This was up there. I think, literally not only on the list, but, in the top 3 or 4. And this was before Battleground 2017, which was equally atrocious, maybe even more so. Because this show did have some good matches, but overall, it was a fucking waste of time. I couldn't even tell you how angry I was coming out of this event. This is coming from someone that was going to WrestleMania 33, and it's it really made me discouraged about what we were going to see at WrestleMania based off what we saw on the Raw side of Fastlane. But nonetheless, though, we're going to break it down here with my thoughts on the show. Hopefully this year's installment is better, but I don't have much faith because what Raw was in early 2017, late 2016, is what SmackDown is right now, aka fucking abysmal. The show could not be any more missable than it is at the moment. So I'm hoping they can pull out a gem, but I'm not getting my hopes up. So nonetheless, Fastlane 2017. I never talk about the kickoff show matches on these reviews, but real quick, Rich Swann and Akira Tozawa beat the Brian Kendrick and Noam Dar in tag team action. Fun match while it lasted. Not worth going out of your way to see. Kicking off the actual show, Samoa Joe taking on Sami Zayn. Samoa Joe is fresh off his main roster debut. It originally looked like we were going to get Samoa Joe versus Seth Rollins, but obviously Joe legitimately hurt Seth Rollins by accident. Joe should not be blamed. On the Raw after the Royal Rumble where Rollins tweaked his knee, and he was out up until WrestleMania. He would not wrestle again until WrestleMania. Rollins and Triple H were nowhere to be seen on this show. They had a segment on Raw, I think on the Go Home show for this pay-per-view, and they would appear, I think Rollins may have, alone, the next night on Raw after this pay-per-view, but they were not seen on this show. Nonetheless, instead of Rollins, Joe went up against Sami Zayn, which was a nice little replacement considering they had a great history and a lot of fun matches in NXT, including almost on the 1-year anniversary, a 2 out of 3 falls match to determine the number 1 contender to the NXT Championship back in early 2016. So a nice little, revisiting, a rekindling of a rivalry here between Joe and Zayn. Really brought the best out of each other. A great way to kick off the show. Very fun match. Sami Zayn always excelling as the underdog fighting from underneath. In the end, it wasn't enough, though. Maybe that's his female name if he was ever a female in WWE. But Samoa Joe, rather. Not to give them any ideas. If Samoa Joe is a transgender. Samoa Joe forcing Sami Zayn to pass out with the Cohina clutch, scoring the victory in the process. The result was what it should have been. Very fun match. Zayn looking good in the feet. They should have carried this out until WrestleMania because Zayn was put in the fucking Battle Royal for no reason, and Joe wasn't even on the fucking show. I think they had a rematch in Raw a few weeks after this, which was also very good, which I think was also won by Samoa Joe. They really should have just dragged it out till Mania. I would have rather seen them have a kickoff match than see Sami get thrown out in anticlimactic fashion in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But nonetheless, very good way to kick off the show. Unfortunately, it was all downhill from there. We had for the Raw Tag Team titles, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson defending against Enzo Amore and Big Cass. The match was fine. The crowd was actually into it towards the end. By this point, Enzo and Cass were not damaged goods, but they were significantly less over than they were when they first arrived in the main roster, which, that's pretty obvious because they came in with a lot of fanfare in 2016, but it did not take WWE long to fuck these guys up. They were pretty good up until the summer, but after that loss to Jericho at SummerSlam, it was all downhill for those guys from there because they had another abysmal feud with Luke Gallows and Anderson in the fall of 2016, which went nowhere. They had a terrible feud with Rusev in late 2016, early 2017, which was just out of this world awful. This feud didn't really help them recover too well. The whole story here was that Enzo and Cass had never won championship gold before. Never in NXT, and not yet on the main roster. That should not have changed here. I think the original plan, and what I was hoping for, was that they would finally win the big one at WrestleMania. Obviously, the Hardys coming back, nixed those plans, and it was for the better. The Hardy Boys should not have come back and lost. But it does suck for Enzo and Cass because I think the fact they lost the tag team title match both here and at WrestleMania, was what kind of set forth their split in the spring of 2017. But anyway, as a match, this was all right. It wasn't terrible, but Enzo was fucking atrocious, and the feud really was not all that compelling. The final few minutes were fun, and a lot better than I thought they would be, but the Raw Tag Team division was pretty dead. A lot like it is right now, but it was pretty lifeless at that point, and at least the result was what it should have been. After that, we had Sasha Banks taking on Nia Jax in a rematch from the Royal Rumble, a match where Nia Jax emerged victorious in about 5 minutes. This was a better match. I thought it told a decent story, with Nia Jax just dominating Sasha, and then Sasha won out of nowhere on an awful-looking bridge suplex or something, a roll-up. Didn't look too good. Why they would have had Sasha beat Nia here, I mean, I guess because they really wanted to make everyone look strong going into that Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. Because it should have been Banks and Bayley, but they wanted to throw in Charlotte and Nia. Charlotte was not going to miss WrestleMania, which I understand. But Nia, did she really have to be a part of that match? Not really. I just didn't think it was the right time to have Nia get beat. Now, she was not undefeated on the main roster. She had been previously beaten by Bayley on Raw in random fashion early on in 2017. But this was still pretty abrupt. I was not all that enthralled with the finish. I guess Sasha had to win one eventually. But it was one of those situations where everyone had to get a win going into WrestleMania in order to look strong. So, nonetheless, the match was all right. Nothing going out of your way worth, checking out. Nothing, going out of your way worth seeing. But, nonetheless, it was all right with just kind of a weird finish. And this is when things really got bad. So, we had a backstage segment that was taped earlier on in the evening with Sasha Banks and, or not Sasha Banks, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the result from the previous match. With Rusev and Jinder Mahal. Now, they had been teaming on Raw for a few months in late 2016, early 2017, in the midst of Rusev's feud with Enzo and Cass. So Jinder kind of joined in on that at one point. They were teasing tension. They were not winning any matches. And Angle said, oh, you're not going to have a match against, or not Kurt Angle. I'm forgetting that Mick Foley was the Raw GM at this point. So Mick Foley says, you're not going to have a match against each other. You will have separate matches, though. So if Rusev versus Jinder was not bad enough, we had to get 2 matches with them alone. And I like Rusev, but it's like a Rusev match unadvertised against fucking Big Show. Come on, give me a break. And especially Jinder, a standalone Jinder match on pay-per-view, at that point was every bit as bad as any other Jinder match he had in 2017. But later on in the year. But anyway, so his opponent ended up being Cesaro, who was with Sheamus. Cesaro was not a singles competitor at this point. Somehow, Jinder managed to get a bad match out of Cesaro. And Cesaro can get a pretty passable match out of pretty much anyone. But people sat on their hands. They could not have given 2 shits about this thing. It was just really not that good at all. Cesaro won with just a terrible-looking uppercut because this was just fucking abysmal. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Rusev had his match after attacking Jinder. They brawled to begin with, which no one cared about because they're 2 heels. So then Rusev faced Big Show. And I thought they had a pretty good match at Hell in a Cell a couple years ago. They did not have that same chemistry here. Probably because there was no feud or no real meaning behind the match. It was just a fucking match. Big Show dominated Rusev, chokeslammed him 3 times, and then knocked him out in the corner. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Way to bury the guy for Big Show. And I don't hate Big Show as much as I once did, but what a fucking waste. Now, I know that was designed to write Rusev out of storylines for the foreseeable future. I think he got injured, not in this match, but right before this or something. He had to get surgery, and he was out for a few months. And that was when he went over to SmackDown. So this was technically his final Raw match. But wow, what a way to write the guy out. And I'm not saying that in a good way. They could have come up with a better way to write the guy out without burying him on the way out, because this was just terrible. And the Jinder thing was stupid, too. They never had a match. They never revisited that tension on SmackDown. It was completely forgotten about. They even teamed at one point on SmackDown not too long ago. But anyway, this was just a ginormous waste of time. As well as the New Day's promo. Now, they had already been announced as the hosts for WrestleMania. So they come out with their new ice cream pop cart, or whatever the fuck it was. Cut a promo about that. Just, again, no one really cared. It was a waste of time. Nothing happened. And that was it. Thankfully, we did get one really, really good match here with Neville and Jack Gallagher for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. This was great stuff. And this was around the point where Neville was, helping the division out a little bit with his title reign and being as great as he was. But, the division was still pretty much dead outside of Neville. Jack Gallagher had some momentum. He was over with the audience, so I really enjoyed this. I thought that it's kind of started out a little slow, a little methodical, but not in a bad way. They picked up the pace in a big way down the stretch. It turned into a really, really exhilarating match, and Neville in the end retaining his title to hold on to the Cruiserweight Championship. Again, great match. Didn't do anything to set forward the division, though, because Neville held on to the belt, as he should have, though we did get a video package for Austin Aries' return to the ring. And he talked about it before the bout, and that would lead into Aries confronting Neville in the next night's Raw and kicking off their feud going into WrestleMania, which I was in huge favor of, though Neville has since walked out and Austin Aries has since been released from the company, so how much good did it really do the division? Anyway, we had Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman up next. A very good match. Obviously, Braun's best match up to this point in his WWE career. They've always had good chemistry. The feud they had in 2017 I thought was awesome. It was very obvious that Braun was merely a roadblock for Roman Reigns in the road to WrestleMania, en route to The Undertaker. So Braun losing here clean was hardly surprising, though I was not a fan of it at all. Braun had been undefeated since re-debuting on Raw nearly a year earlier, but it was just, I don't know, I just did not think it was the right time. You had Undertaker come out the next night on Raw to confront Roman Reigns, and set forward that match, plant the seeds for that WrestleMania match. Why not just have the lights go out here and give Braun the victory? I mean, it really was not that big of a deal. Roman and Taker was happening no matter what. He would go on to be Undertaker. So did he really need the win here? No, he didn't. Braun needed the win a lot more than Roman did, and Braun would go on to do nothing at WrestleMania. So I thought that was a waste. The outcome was just not good, but the match was good. I will give them credit for that. Bayley and Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship. It was a good match. Not nearly as good as their other matches. I liked the Royal Rumble match more, and even the Raw match more than this. This was easily the worst of their encounters up to this point, one-on-one anyway. And the finish was even worse. So Sasha Banks comes out to kind of thwart the interference from Dana Brooke. She ends up helping Bayley cheat to win. This whole thing was just horribly handled. Bayley won, ending Charlotte's multi-month undefeated streak on pay-per-view, which was 16-0, 17-0, something crazy like that. When WrestleMania is so close, they snapped the streak in a random B-level pay-per-view that no one cared about. That boggled my mind. And this helped Bayley none at all. A lot of people were thinking Bayley might lose to keep the streak intact. Just don't book the match. Or why even bother booking the title change? Just give Bayley the belt at WrestleMania. She would go on to win anyway. So what was the point in not waiting? I thought that was really stupid. And they really not killed Bayley here. It was another step, though, in her demise on Monday Night Raw, because this was just not smart booking of her at all. I know she won, but the fashion in which she won was not smart or well done whatsoever. I thought that was just stupid. And then we get to the 30-second no-joke main event. 23 seconds, actually, to be exact, according to Wikipedia, which we all kind of expected, but it really, again, did Kevin Owens no favors. So he comes out, Goldberg comes out, Kevin Owens stalls some more for a solid 2 or 3 minutes before the bell finally rings. Or actually, before the bell rings, Chris Jericho's music hits, who had not been seen since Owens betrayed him at the Festival of Friendship a few weeks before on Raw. So Jericho resurfaces, bell rings when Owens isn't looking, gets speared by Goldberg, jackhammered, and that's it. We got a new Universal Champion in Goldberg, which the crowd went crazy for. They didn't poop all over it. It got a great reaction, a lot like the reaction that he received at Survivor Series when he beat Brock Lesnar in a minute and a half. But still, Kevin Owens had been champion for a long-ass time. Then he gets beat by Goldberg in 30 seconds. Maybe it was better than having a competitive match, but it made Kevin Owens look like a complete idiot and getting distracted by theme music for 10 seconds. That was really stupid, and I was not a fan of that finish at all. I know that was, again, we all expected it because, Goldberg and Brock was happening at WrestleMania no matter what, and Vince wanted it to be for the Universal Championship, which was and still is stupid to this day because they gave us a year-long title reign from Brock Lesnar, which hasn't really benefited anyone except for Roman Reigns this coming year at WrestleMania, which it won't benefit him either, but that's neither here nor there in this review. Just a very underwhelming way to close out the show. I mean, it was a big moment, new champion crown, but it's I don't know. It was just kind of there for me. It was just like, new champion, okay. We all kind of knew it was going to happen. It was pretty predictable. It's hard to be mad about something that you knew was coming. But it really, for me, capped off just an awful evening. Because this show really had little to offer. I thought the Cruiserweight Championship match was good. Crowd was quiet for it early on, but it turned into a hell of a match. And the opener was entertaining. And Roman and Braun was also very good, but I thought the result was just stupid. Just a lot of questionable booking decisions on the show. Probably worse than the wrestling was the awful booking decisions that were made on the show. Between the women's shit, the tag team title stuff no one really cared about. The filler with Big Show and Cesaro versus Rusev and Mahal was terrible. And the main event was just a waste of time. Like, what a slap in the face. For Survivor Series, I get it. For a main event that had been built up and people were excited for, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, or Goldberg, Kevin Owens, first time ever, over in 30 seconds, squash of a current guy for Kevin Owens, or for a Goldberg of Kevin Owens. Can't say I was in favor of that. So overall, a thumbs down show easily. This show sucked. So Fastlane 18 rather, I would say has its work cut out for it. It really doesn't. It won't be hard to be better than this show. But then again, Fastlane 2018 doesn't really have the strongest lineup on paper. So we'll see how it does. But I'm not too optimistic, to say the least. But nonetheless, guys, that was my review of Fastlane 2017 as seen on the WWE Network. Check it out if you will. I would not recommend that you do, but if only for a few matches. Any one match, I would say between the Cruiserweight stuff and Joe and Zayn, probably Joe and Zayn. But you can check out the Cruiserweight title match too. And Roman and Braun was also very good, but the result was dumb. Anyway, check out my thoughts on the pay-per-view and other pay-per-views in written form on nextwrestling.net and also right here on WrestleRant every single Tuesday. I think next week, I'm not sure what I'll be talking about. Maybe another WCW show. I think it's another Starrcade show. So keep your eyes peeled for that next Tuesday right here on WrestleRant. In the meantime, and in between time, though, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. And just have a great rest of your week. Try to enjoy Fastlane this coming Sunday from SmackDown, hoping it's a good show. I'm really hoping it's a good show, but you never know with the Blue brand nowadays. And I'm Graham G. Matthews, guys, and I'll catch your ass down the road.